Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome back to today's Explainer, where we are cutting right through the noise to bring you some really high-stakes, actionable intelligence. Look, we're living in a season of massive, high-value global infrastructure shifts right now. Capital is moving, new mandates are hitting the street, and execution is happening as we speak. So today, we're going to first establish the global context of these huge economic movements, and then we're going to drill all the way down to a highly specific, localized opportunity where real money is on the table. If you want to understand where the real action is happening in the built environment and infrastructure sectors today, well, you're exactly where you need to be.
Just to give you a sense of the sheer scale of what's happening globally right now, consider this absolute powerhouse of a number, 3.2 billion Australian dollars. That is the massive commitment Queensland has just thrown down for the Copper String Transmission Project. And this isn't just some conceptual pipe dream. It's a major on-the-ground infrastructure development that's expected to immediately unlock massive renewable energy investments and critical minerals production across some really resource-rich regions. It establishes right out of the gate that we're in this era where governments are heavily funding physical infrastructure to secure their economic futures.
But at the exact same time, we've got macroeconomic pressures really shaping how these deals go down. Over in Europe, the European Central Bank is keeping its rate hike options wide open as inflation pressures continue to surge. Markets are actively reassessing and, frankly, repricing borrowing costs across the board. Validating our understanding of this broader financial landscape is absolutely crucial, right? Because it dictates the cost of capital for everyone. When borrowing costs fluctuate on a macro level, localized deals and municipal infrastructure spending become even more critical to keeping local economies stable.
So here's our roadmap for today. 1. Global markets and opportunities. 2. The emergency housing priority. 3. Unpacking Tender 280Q/2025/26. 4. Who qualifies to bid? And finally, 5. Critical tender deadlines.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, Global Markets and Opportunities.
We've set the macro stage, but what's really interesting about this slide is how global capital is moving so strategically across entirely different sectors. Right at the top, we see Queensland's massive energy build-out that we just talked about. Then, looking at the EU and Brazil, they're launching a brand new digital partnership heavily focused on cybersecurity, connectivity, and data cooperation, really deepening those ties after the EU-Mercosur trade agreement. But honestly, it's that third partnership that really demands our attention today. South Africa and Italy are targeting growth through a new agricultural and logistics partnership, zoning in on food processing and packaging tech. And it's this specific, strategic focus on South Africa that serves as our real pivot point today.
Which brings us to Section 2, the emergency housing priority.
We are aggressively zooming our focus all the way down to the municipal level in South Africa. As the mandate explicitly states, housing remains one of the largest infrastructure priorities for metropolitan municipalities across South Africa. So we aren't just talking about abstract global numbers anymore. We are talking about the immense strategic significance of urban development and direct, urgent municipal infrastructure spending. With the country continuing to pour heavy investment into settlement development, this right here is where the operational rubber meets the road.
Now, to be super precise about what this opportunity actually is, emergency housing programs are defined as critical interventions addressing urgent accommodation needs, all while supporting broader urban development objectives. I really want to make sure you grasp the core stakes here, okay? This isn't just your run-of-the-mill, basic residential construction. No, this is rapid, critical municipal intervention. It is all about providing immediate, on-the-ground support to communities that desperately require accommodation right now, alongside the related settlement infrastructure needed to actually sustain it.
Let's get right into the specifics in Section 3, Unpacking Tender 2080Q/2025/2026.
So the crucial point is that this is where actionable intelligence turns into potential revenue with the City of Cape Town's Human Settlements Department. Now, I know municipal procurement jargon can practically cure insomnia, so let's just deconstruct this entire thing into 4 clear, totally manageable execution phases. The city is essentially looking for service providers capable of Step 1, supplying the materials. Step 2, delivering the solutions to the site. Step 3, erecting the structures themselves. And Step 4, constructing the related infrastructure around them. It is a very comprehensive scope of work, and it's linked directly to the city's broader human settlements programs.
Moving right along to Section 4, who qualifies to bid? Listen, if your firm operates anywhere in the built environment sector, you need to determine right now if your operational capabilities fit the requirements for this specific project. Let's walk through this eligibility checklist together. The tender explicitly creates opportunities for housing construction companies and developers, civil engineering contractors, modular and prefabricated building providers, which, by the way, is absolutely vital for the rapid deployment they need, general infrastructure development firms, specialists in human settlements who have real experience in large-scale residential projects, joint ventures involving emerging contractors, and community housing development companies. Basically, if your firm touches any of these specific capabilities, you are theoretically in the game.
This brilliantly illustrates how this procurement is uniquely designed with a dual nature. See, on one hand, the city desperately needs established construction groups, purely because they have the massive balance sheets and the proven operational track records to deliver housing infrastructure at a huge scale. But on the other hand, there is a very clear pathway carved out for qualifying emerging contractors, specifically if they enter through joint ventures or specific community mandates. Meaning, this tender is cleverly designed to attract both the massive established heavy hitters and the agile local contractors who are hungry to scale up their operations.
Finally, let's hit Section 5 critical tender deadlines. Let's move to and see how this builds, because in the world of named deals, municipal budgets, and actual money on the table, timing is the ultimate barrier to entry. Literally, if you miss a date, you're out. No exceptions. Just think about this highly compressed timeline. The tender was officially advertised on June 22, 2026. The clock is already ticking right now. You have exactly 10 days to prep for the mandatory briefing session on June 22nd at 10 a.m. sharp. From there, you have less than a month to completely finalize your bids for the ultimate closing date on July 17, 2026, also at exactly 10 a.m. The window to access this municipal infrastructure spend is wide open right now, but man, it is closing fast.
So, here is your direct call to action when it comes to compliance. As a professional in this space, your absolute next step is to immediately track down and review the full tender documentation for 280Q/2025/26. The issuing authority expects strict, absolute adherence to all of their procurement requirements. You've got to ensure total 100% compliance before that July 17th submission deadline if you want to participate in any future housing delivery programs with the city.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to help you calculate your immediate next business moves. Are you positioned to execute on Cape Town's urgent housing mandate before the July 17th deadline? Look, the infrastructure priority is crystal clear, the capital is definitely allocated, and the timeline is strictly enforced. It is time to seriously evaluate your capabilities and decide right now if you are ready to bid. Thanks so much for joining me for this breakdown of the intel, and I will see you in the next explainer.